I welcome you all for this session 1 of DNA structure. So, this session will be useful for you for your class 10 preparation. So, I have taken a topic from the genetics, from that a small chunk I have chosen, that is the DNA. Let us start the session. Wish you all a very happy new year, and then greetings from my side. All the best for your future. Come, let us start the session. Yes. So now, you know what is DNA? DNA means what? Have you heard about this name DNA? DNA. What does that mean? It means that a deoxyribonucleic acid. What is that deoxyribonucleic acid? Why it is called acid? Let us see all those in our upcoming session. Now come, let us see what is DNA. Yes, this is what we call the deoxyribonucleic acid. Okay. So the term DNA means it is the D stands for deoxyribo. What is the deoxy? Have you heard about oxy? Oxy means what? It contains oxygen, whereas deoxy means it is the opposite to oxygen. So it does not contain the oxygen in its structure. That is deoxyribonucleic acid. So there is another nucleic acid in our cell, in all living cells, that is known as the ribonucleic acid. So in that there is the oxygen will be there. Okay. So in this DNA, there won't be any oxygen in the second position of the structure. Is that clear? So that's why it is called the deoxyribonucleic acid. And then I asked you a question called the acid. Acid means why in our cell, in living cells, in human cells, will there be any acid? You can come up with your answers. If acid is present in the living cells, what will happen? You can comment also. Why it is called an acid? That is deoxyribonucleic acid is the answer for this question. That is what is DNA. My question, another question. Why it is called an acid? You can comment me later. Okay. So I'll tell you the answer in my next session. Now I'll continue with the structure, that is introduction part. So now in this session we are going to learn about the structure of DNA. I told you it is the deoxyribonucleic acid, and then let me say the introduction about the DNA. Where this DNA is present, you can comment your answers if you know. So this DNA is actually present in the nucleus of the living cells. Okay, so in your lower classes you would have learned about what is the cell. The cell, this is the cell, an animal cell I am giving you. An animal cell contain a cell membrane, and then it contains a nucleus. So in this nucleus you will have a chromosome. The chromosome only contains the genetic material called the DNA. Okay, a cell A cell has a cell membrane, it has a nucleus, and this nucleus has a genetic material. That genetic material only will have a DNA. Okay, and we all have all the other cell organelles. This right from your class 8 you will be studying about the cell structure. I'm clear. So this deoxyribonucleic acid is present in the nucleus. Okay, so this is the genetic material. The deoxyribonucleic acid is the genetic material. Why it is called a genetic material? Because it is transmitting the hereditary information, that is the triads, the characteristics, the physical and the other genotypic characteristics are transmitted from our parents, from our ancestors, and to the new generation. That's why it is called a hereditary material. It contains the genetic information. Okay, and it's mainly the important constituent of the chromosomes. Understood? So that's an introduction to DNA structure. It is the genetic material. It contains genetic information and it has the chromosome in it. Is that clear? So now I'll say that the DNA is the double helical structure. So this was already discovered. It was proposed by the great scientist called the James Watson and the Francis Crick. Okay, so these two great men, no, they found this. The DNA is a double helical structure. Okay, so why it is the double helical structure? If you see the structure, no, you can identify. So there is a helix. So this is the helical structure I'm showing to you, and it also has some structure. In this interior part, it has some T, G, and C. I wrote you. So they are the nitrogenous bases. So let me explain that nitrogenous bases everything in upcoming session. Now let us see who discovered this double helical structure. So this double helical structure was proposed by James Watson and Francis Crick. Okay, so now this is the most widely accepted model of DNA. So this Watson and Crick model, you would have heard about this Watson and Crick model of DNA. Okay, since it was discovered by Watson and Crick, the name was given as Watson and Crick model of DNA. Is that clear? So now let us see how they proposed this model, how they found this model. Okay, so it was actually a 3D model, we can say. That's the double helical structure. It is actually a 3D model. So the 3D model, there is nothing but the X-ray diffraction studies done by the Rosalind Franklin and the Maurice Wilkins. So these two persons, no, these two great scientists, they proposed the X-ray diffraction studies of DNA. So from this, Watson and Crick, they found the three-dimensional structure of DNA. Is that clear? So that's why it's a 3D model, we can say that. Okay, so now let us move further. And these great people, no, Watson, Crick, and Rosalind Franklin, and the Maurice Wilkins, they won the Nobel Prize in the year 1962 for their studies on the molecular structure of nucleic acid. So they have done a great job on this X-ray diffraction studies of nucleic acid and then the three-dimensional model of DNA. Okay, so this was the history of DNA, we can say that. Understood? So now we are going to go into the next part of the DNA, that is actual the basic structure of DNA. So what is the basic structure of DNA? I told you, what is DNA? It is a deoxyribonucleic acid. Okay. Actually, this is the genetic topic I am taking for the class 10 students. Okay. So now let us explain the deoxyribonucleic acid is actually a polynucleotide. What is that? It is actually a polynucleotide. Why it is called poly? You know what is poly? Poly means many, containing large number of molecules. That is large number of substances. Poly. Okay, so this DNA, no, it is not a single strand, it is not a single unit. Okay, so it has a large number of nucleotides, that is the polynucleotides. Millions of nucleotides are present in the living cells. Okay, so now let me explain the first and foremost base of the DNA. The base of the DNA is the sugar substance. So this sugar substance is nothing but, I already told you in the beginning itself, it is the deoxyribonucleic acid. So it is called the deoxyribose sugar. And see, if you see the structure, no, it is a pentose sugar. It is the pentose sugar, and this pentose sugar in the second position, no, it will not have an oxygen atom, so it is known as the deoxyribose. Clear? So this is first and base of the DNA molecule. Okay, now, so next is, it is the nitrogenous base. So what is that? It contains a nitrogenous base, that is nitrogen containing substances. They are the purine and pyrimidine. What are they? They are the purine and pyrimidine. It is the adenine and the guanine. Purines are the adenine and the guanine, and the pyrimidines are the cytosine and the thymine. Okay. So now, in addition, the DNA also contains a phosphate group. I told you, no, the PO group, PO4 group. Okay, so this is the phosphate group. So this phosphate group is also present in the DNA structure. So the first and foremost is, DNA is not a single substance, it is containing the millions of nucleotides in it. So it is a polynucleotide, and it has a sugar base, that is known as the deoxyribose sugar, and it contains a nitrogenous base in it, that is known as the purine and pyrimidine. What are the purines? Purines are adenine and guanine, and pyrimidines are cytosine and thymine. Okay. In addition, the DNA also has a group called the phosphate group. Okay, cha. So this is about the basic structure of DNA. Now let us show this, the basic structure of DNA. I told you just now, no. So this is the sugar, and it contains a nitrogenous base, and it is also connected with another sugar. So this is the strand, a strand which contains a sugar, nitrogenous base, and then a sugar again, and a phosphate group. Okay, so this is, look at here, a phosphate group, and this phosphate group also in turn linked with the, or bonded with the another sugar molecule. Then this sugar molecule is having another nitrogenous base, that is adenine is the purine, thymine is the pyrimidine. And so when I look at here, cytosine is a pyrimidine, and guanine is a purine. I told you, know, just now, what are the purines and pyrimidines? Purines are adenine and guanine, and then if you see the pyrimidines, they are the cytosine and thymine. Okay, next, shall we move to the next one? So look at this picture. This is the nucleotide. I told you, know, DNA is a polynucleotide. Okay, so this polynucleotide has the millions of nucleotides in it. So this is the basic structure of nucleotide, that is the DNA. Okay, so now further, if you see this nucleotide, and it is not all of a sudden the nucleotide will not be formed. Okay, so the nucleotide, first it will have the sugar. Just now I told you, no, sugar deoxyribose, and this sugar will form a bond with the nitrogenous base, that is the adenine, guanine, cytosine, and thymine. Okay, so this is the first part of the nucleic acid, that is nucleoside. So this is the nucleoside. Okay, so this nucleoside will form first, that is a sugar molecule will come and it will form a link between the nitrogen and base, that is adenine, guanine, cytosine, and thymine, and then these two, nitrogenous base and sugar, will again form a bond with the phosphate group. Okay, so the nucleotide, I told you, know what is the DNA. DNA is a polynucleotide, I told you. This polynucleotide, what are the parts of this polynucleotide? It will have a ribose sugar, deoxyribose sugar, and it will have a nucleoside. That is, the nucleoside is nothing but the deoxyribose sugar and the nitrogenous base. So nitrogenous base, I told you what are they: adenine, guanine, cytosine, and thymine. Okay, and then along with that it will have a phosphate group. Okay, so this that is deoxyribose sugar, nitrogenous base, this is the nucleoside. This nucleoside along with the phosphate is the nucleotide. Understood? So that's what I show you now. It's the nucleotide. The structure is this. Nucleotide structure is this. So if you look at this structure, you can understand better. Okay, so this is the sugar molecule which is bonded with the nitrogenous base, and then the nitrogenous base again linked with another sugar molecule, that is a pentose sugar. Okay, then this pentose sugar in turn is linked with the phosphate group. Here also a phosphate group. So this is one strand actually a DNA molecule has, and this is the opposite strand. So they are the anti-parallel. They are anti-parallel. All those things you will be learning in your higher classes. Now is just enough to learn the structure and who proposed the most accepted model of DNA. Okay, so now again, shall we go to the recap? This is what I started the session with the DNA. What is DNA? Where it is present? So the DNA is the molecule, that is the deoxyribonucleic acid, is present inside a living cell. So this living cell have a nucleus. So the nucleus is the brain of a cell, we can say. So this brain of a cell only will have a genetic material called the DNA. So this DNA will be present inside the nucleus. Okay, so now I told you that it is a hereditary material. It is the, because it is the one which is having the genetic information. This genetic information only passed from one generation to another generation. Is that clear? And this DNA only is the main constituent of chromosomes. So one DNA when it is linked with another one, it will form millions of nucleotides. So that millions of nucleotides is known as the chromosome. Then the chromosomes will form a chromatin. Okay, so now, and then we saw about the DNA model, that is the double helical structure. So this the double helical structure, who proposed that? James Watson and Francis Crick. Understood? So these two great men only, they found that double helical structure. Okay, so this double helical structure looks like this. It's a 3D model. Okay, three-dimensional model. It was proposed by Watson and Crick, and this model only is the most accepted model of DNA. Is that clear? So if you have a doubt, please comment me, so that let me give answer for them. And then three-dimensional model of DNA. So how the Watson and Crick found the three-dimensional model of DNA? from the X-ray diffraction studies of nucleic acid, which was done by the Rosalind Franklin and Maurice Wilkins. So these two scientists, they found the X-ray diffraction model of the DNA. So from that, the 3D model of DNA was found by Watson and Crick. So for this, all those scientists were been awarded, or they have been honored with a Nobel Prize in the year 1962. So this is the molecular structure of nucleic acid. Okay. So next we have studied what we studied in this session. We studied about the basic structure of DNA. So the DNA is a polynucleotide, and then this polynucleotide will have large enough of nucleotides in it. Okay, so this main constituent of DNA is the deoxyribose, and this deoxyribose along with that will have a nitrogenous base known as the purine. The purine are the adenine and guanine, and then pyrimidine are the cytosine and thymine. So these are the nitrogenous base. That's why they are the nucleic acid. This is this acid present in the nucleus is the nucleic acid. Okay. So along with that, the DNA also has one more constituent that is known as the phosphate group. So a polynucleotide, a sugar, a deoxyribose sugar, and nitrogenous base, and that nitrogenous base are of two types. They are the purine and pyrimidine. What are the purines? They are the adenine and guanine. What are the pyrimidines? They are the cytosine and the thymine, and then phosphate group. This is the basic structure of DNA, and we have studied about what is the nucleoside. What is the nucleoside? I told you that base sugar, no, that the deoxyribose sugar will form a link with the nitrogenous base, and this nitrogenous base again will form a link with the phosphate group, that is the nucleotide. So nucleoside is different from nucleotide. What is the difference between nucleoside and nucleotide? Only this phosphate group is difference. If the phosphate group is not there, it is known as nucleoside. If the phosphate group is there, it is known as nucleotide. Understood? Nucleotide is a three constituent. What are they? Deoxyribose sugar, and then the nucleoside and the phosphate. This three constituents should be there for a nucleotide. If this phosphate group is not there, then it is containing only two constituents, that is the nucleoside. Is that clear? So I explained the structure with this molecular figure also. So if you see this DNA structure, you can understand better. So a sugar is linked with the base, nitrogenous base. Adenine always forms a bond with the thymine, and then cytosine always forms a bond with the guanine. Okay, that's what we'll say, A bond and then CG triple bond. This bond, no, actually this bond is the hydrogen bond. What is that? Hydrogen bond. Actually, there will be double bond between the adenine and thymine, and then a triple bond between the cytosine and the guanine. Okay, so that is three pair of electrons will be shared, and here two pair of electrons will be shared. That's why double bond and the triple bond. So they are nothing but the hydrogen bonds. Okay, and then the sugar will have a phosphate group. So this is the polynucleotide of a DNA. Understood? And they both are anti-parallel. So this will be in one direction and this will be in the opposite direction. That is known as the anti-parallel. Okay, children? So if you have any doubts, you feel free. You can comment me. Yeah? So and then you can also give your feedback about this session, and then you can share if you are interested, or any children are studying in your CBSE class 10 or in any metric class 10, any board, they come and participate in my session for the science class. Okay, feel free to answer. So and then you please give your feedback also. Okay, so we will see in the next session. In the upcoming session, we will learn about the Watson and Crick model of DNA. So that would be more what to say informative, and then more what to say more informative. Along with that, we can learn the what are the analysis done by the Watson and Crick during the three-dimensional analysis of the DNA molecule, how they did their experiment, all those details you can learn in the upcoming session. And not only that, if you see my fancy artist channel, there are many science experiments I have posted already in the science session. If any school going children are there from class 6 to class 12 or higher classes, you can refer those science experiments. Mainly for the class 6 and class 7, I have posted many what to say mm, experiments videos, so they can learn more about that. And if you have any doubt, you can come, and then you can ask me. Okay, so this is about the DNA structure and the introduction part. So we will see in the next session. Thank you.